Hello, everyone. Hello, YouTubers. It's Anonymous T. Hope you're having an amazing day today. So today, I wanted to do a quick video as we get into tonight's episode of Celebrity Big Brother Season 3. I believe we're in episode 4, and it's going to be a jam-packed hour in terms of we are going to see the aftermath of nominations from Chris's HOH, and then we are going to see the veto picks for the power of veto. We are going to see the veto being played, and then we're going to see who wins the veto meeting, as well as the live eviction. So there is a lot to get to. For the most part tonight or earlier today and last night, I would say this cast, they sleep so much. Like, I love sleep. Trust me, I love sleeping. I love taking naps. But even for me, I'm like, man, like, you guys sleep a lot. And I'm surprised that production isn't yelling at them, for the amount of sleep that they're doing. Like, it's insane. But there's just a lot going on. There's a lot of, things that are brewing. There's an issue with Chris Kattan and Todd Bridges because Chris Kattan thinks that Todd Bridges has sleep apnea with just the loud snoring and everything else. And so he says he can't sleep at night. And so then Todd comes back and he's like, well, you can't sleep at night because you sleep all day. But Chris Kattan sleeps all day because of Todd Bridges snoring. And so then that's why he gets up in the middle of the night and snacks on the food and the cake and everything else. So they're at odds right now. Also, it seems as though they're keeping it under wraps, but they're making it seem on the feeds that everybody is mad at just Misha and mad at how she's trying to control the game and control what everybody's doing. But a lot of people are equally as pissed at Todrick as well. According to Spoiler Guy, who's on Twitter, he has been spoiling that, pretty much in the DR sessions and everything else that, Carson and Cynthia and all these people, they are fine with a Todrick eviction. And if they were HOH, they have no problem getting rid of him. And so it's interesting with that because last night, I don't know what's going on with Misha and Todrick. They will not let this Carson backdoor go. They are obsessed with Carson, and I have no idea why. They think he is this big time threat. They think he is going to win the game. Now, granted, I think he has a chance, and I think he has an amazing social game. But the way that they are hyping him up in comps is next level. I'm you don't know what the distribution of mental comps versus physical comps are going to be. And if tonight's power of veto is a physical comp, then that is going to be beneficial for Mariah to pull herself off the block and stay. So, I think definitely right now, I think people want, I feel like it's a mixed house right now. And I think a lot of probably why Chris wants Mariah gone is due to their personal issues. But then there seemed to be a couple of issues throughout the day where Mariah apparently had a couple of meltdowns and this and that. So that was interesting. So I'm just not sure if it has to do with her age versus everybody else being older and more experienced and everything else, or if there's something else going on, because it's usually the opposite on regular seasons where they cast somebody that's older amongst a bunch of group of young people and they can't relate. So then they end up trying to get rid of the older person unless the older person basically sabotages their game and, sucks up to the young people. So it's just interesting dynamics going on. Lamar and Todd had a very good conversation earlier today about, having previous addiction issues and how for some people this house could be a trigger in the Big Brother house. And, so it sounds like, they lean on each other for support because they both have had issues in the past. And then they had an interesting conversation about autographs, which also feature random comments by Todrick, who really was adding nothing to the conversation, because anytime they were having conversations about, different topics and things, Todrick would throw in there, oh, I miss boys, and just random stuff while he was playing solitaire. And I'm like, here's the thing, can we get an intellectual conversation out of you? Can we get something of substance out of you? It's all superficial. It's all about, who you like, who you don't like, how you think you're being perceived by the fans, how the optics are. It's all, we know nothing really that much about you that's personal. Todd had to basically drag out of you that you were involved with somebody. And even that sounds suspect, because if it was me, I would be dumping you, because you sounded like you're not really even featuring the person that you're with. So that just was a whole hot mess of a conversation in itself. But back to the autograph conversation, Todrick was, talking about how he had different autographs and how it might be special for some people. And, Todd Bridges was talking about, how cool it is to get an autograph by somebody because he got an autograph from Darth Vader, James Earl Jones. And so then Lamar Odom had a weird take. He said that he didn't think autographs were a big deal. But mind you, he is also wearing a hoodie that has his signature on it. And I just can't with Lamar, because I don't know if he realizes how aloof he is, or how unintentionally funny or unintentionally hypocritical that he is, but it is just hilarious at all times. And so he also was talking about how he needs to get like a physical and all this other stuff because like there's things going on in his body that's not acting right. And apparently he fell and had a bad fall either outside or out of his bed or something the night before that woke everybody up because he had like a loud reaction. And so Chris Kattan was telling him to tell everybody in the DR who's going to be examining him and everything else, tell them truthfully like what is wrong with him. So that was interesting. And then Misha's just weird. I don't understand. But her and Todrick last night, they were talking Chris Kirkpatrick's head off about Carson, about putting him up as a replacement nom. They were going through all of these various scenarios. And Shayna came in, and I thought she was going to break up the conversation, and she ended up leaving. And I was like, no, you needed to stay. You needed to plop a squat so that they could get the hint and go. And, Todrick, basically, it said that he wants to play, he doesn't want to be an HOH because he doesn't want to show his cards right now, even though he is actively throwing all of his allies under the bus except for Misha when it's all said and done. So it is what it is. But then what interesting happened this morning was a conversation between Shayna and Chris Kirkpatrick. And we may see something of substance happen, we may not. But Chris says allegedly that he has a dream and that he essentially wants to possibly backdoor Todrick because that would be a big move. That would be shocking. That would get the oohs and ahs from the audience as they're watching the live episode. Nobody would see it coming, and that they would have to keep it a secret from people and this and that. Now, I'm all about it. I'm all ready for Todrick to go because I think it was so hypocritical for him to host the cookout at his mansion. And ever since he's been in the house, he has gone everything away from what the cookout represents and stands for and everything else. And he just really just not only hates himself, but basically hates everyone that's there because he feels as though certain people are a bigger threat to him. And I think he honestly thought that he was going to be the star of the cast. And it's just the delusions for me. It's the delusions of grandeur for me. It's the audacity for me. So I'm like, you can go, dude, because you are coming up with all types of lies. And then you tell lies on top of your lies to make excuses for your behavior that is not appropriate for this, particular group of people. So they're up here, flirting with the idea of potentially doing this backdoor tonight. There's a part of me that wants to see this happen because I think that they have the votes to get Todrick out. And so the only instance that Chris Kirkpatrick was talking about, he said if he can do it, if he wins veto or if Chris Kattan wins veto, then he would put up Todrick and give some weird look to Misha because he feels like then that can cut off her social game and it would force Misha to have to lean in more into them. So, and then they still have Mariah, and Mariah would then be also indebted to Chris for not, sending her out. So it's just a lot going on, but there's a part of me that's like, okay, is this production influence? Are they coming up with, this type of, fodder for the show to be edited in to make you, think and anticipate that something might go down? But I just don't know because we only have an hour to squeeze everything in. So I don't know how much of the previous days of the live feeds that they're actually going to show in the episode since we have so much happening tonight, since we're doing the evictions, twice a week and it's Mondays and Fridays. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. I would love it for the shock value of Todrick being completely shook, having no time to react, no time to strategize, of immediately being put on the block. I think Cynthia Carson, Shayna, and Chris Kattan would have no issue voting out Todrick when it's all said and done and keeping Mariah instead. So, because pretty much they see Mariah at this point, even though she's supposedly supposed to be a part of the Athlete Alliance, she's essentially alone, with the exception of her friendship with Chris Kattan. But I definitely could see a scenario where this happens, but I just don't want to get my hopes up, because how many times do we hear these interesting, potential moves that happen in these HOH rooms right before a live show or right before a big veto or a big HOH comp, only for, the same old happening, that noms are going to stay the same, and, they're going to send out Mariah and all this and that. Like, I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping that they, start to make some moves and put Todrick up there and backdoor him and shock him. I want it to be Misha. I think it needs to be Misha, because she actually is more of a threat than Todrick. Todrick's a social threat, but he's not really a comp threat up until this point. However, Misha could end up being the new HOH tonight, because Chris can't play, and he would essentially have to rely on Shayna, Carson, or Cynthia to win to make sure that he's covered, because Misha's going to be gunning for him. However, and possibly Mariah if Todrick is the one that goes, but it all depends on how everything plays out tonight. So that is going to be very interesting if this move takes place, or if this was just production fodder to, wet some palates and get some people excited, because then they cut the feeds as soon as Chris started talking about production. So I am curious to see what ultimately is going to take place with this tonight. We've got a few minutes before showtime. This will probably be uploading as the show is airing, so you guys can get your Big Brother fix. And I will, of course, do a review later tonight of what took place in the episode. But with that being said, let me know your guys' thoughts. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified the moment I post new content on my channel. And with that being said, I will talk to you guys again very soon.